So the wholeness is a baseline. It's our natural state. It's something what underlies our being. It's something what we have been born with. When we were little newborns, there was nothing missing. We were who we were, and it depends on our life experiences and on the ways how we cope with the situations we've gone through. If you believe on reincarnation, you also can understand that there is the same thing happened in our past lives, that there is karma which make some predispositions for this life. But in my opinion, it might be true, but it doesn't really help me to do anything with that in this life. It might be I had some karma in past lives, but it makes me to live the life here the way how I live it because of those karmic experiences, but I cannot change them anyway. So that's something what's meaningful only in the actual way how I cope the experiences in this life. Of course, we all have some families, we all have some patterns, some relationships which were modifying our wholeness. And through all those experiences we met through our life, we were actually losing the wholeness. We were actually forgetting about the whole Holy Spirit in us. And that is something what I think is the crucial understanding, that those experiences made us forget. They made us fall into ignorance, fall into forgetfulness, to fall into blindness. But that is not our true nature. Our true nature had always been the wholeness. And to understand those patterns, to see those patterns in us, which are modifying this state, it's very important. But I think what is the most important, to start from the right position. Start from the wholeness, even though we are not really in the wholeness right now, but to start from the understanding that the wholeness is the original, the natural state we are in. And I think that is the basic principle. I'm not craniosacral therapist, but my wife, who is great craniosacral practitioner and therapist, and she has amazing wisdom about this method and about life and world and spirit and God and everything. It's amazing. I really love her for holding and sharing this wisdom in her. But she always says that the cranio session, when she has a client on her table, that they call the introductory state where you approach the person, they call it neutral, like the state of nothing. or as I understand it, it might be wrong in the perspective of proper craniotherapist, but as I understand it, is something what you have to go through first before you even touch the client. And as they say that anything what happens before the neutral is of no real value. Only what happens after the neutral is gained is the healing. And that is something what makes the great sense to me, and it actually is something what explains my feelings, which I always, or what I got through my experiences with expanded consciousness. That this state is, you can call it neutral, you can call it inner divinity, being, Zen, Tao, whatever. It is the state where you go deep inside you and you understand that this being is non-different to anything else, that you are part of this creation, non-different from anything, non-different from God. You understand, you see, you feel you are the God. You feel it inside, you feel the love of God inside, but you cannot find it anywhere. You only can find it here. So this state is something what they start with, and it's something what is amazing for me. I don't know any other approach which starts with the highest understanding I can imagine, that we are God, and that is what biodynamics is all about. And it's something what I cannot do the way they do, but as I said, it explains the best the way how I approach the healing or the process of regaining our wholeness. And in my viewpoint, that's the same. I think that when you start with this setting, that you know you are non-different to God, that you are pure love, that you are whole as you are, from this state you can actually heal. But you have to start here. In this state, you have to start with the understanding that any issue, any trouble, any illness, any suffering is actually only some, I don't want to say illusion because it exists, but the identification with the situation which makes us really feel the suffering is only when we identify with our ego, when we identify with the actual individuality and disconnection of the person we think we are. But when we start in this understanding that we are we are one with everything, and we are connected, and we are unlimited as the God creation. And as they say that the real healing starts after the neutral is set, and actually only after there is the neutral set in the client, not only in the therapist but in the client, only then starts the real healing. And I think this is something uh, what can be transferred to any other practice, to any other modality we use. But this is in my viewpoint like the highest understanding of this life, and the biodynamic principle actually follows that understanding that we are part of this higher orchestration of this world, that we are part of something what we cannot really comprehend, and that the God and the creative force is always maintaining this life, and we as a part of it, we are connected to it, and we can be healed because of its force, of its power. And I think this understanding that we are part of something bigger, and we don't have really the control over everything what happens in our life, that is quite important. And also the surrender to the higher power, to the life, to the creative force, to the universe. It's something what's a real breakthrough in the healing process, because as far as we think that we are the one who controls everything and who can decide things, that's true until a point when it stops being truth, and there is the higher truth above, that we are part of this game of life, but we have our sovereignty. But when we surrender to the will of God in a trust and belief in the goodness of God, and in trust in the love of this universe, then we can actually be taken further on this journey. And it is something what I've learned from my wife and other cranio teachers, or actually the biodynamic cranio teachers, who it's set in the biodynamic principle that we actually trust the God, the life inside, that is able to do the stuff, that to do the healing by itself. That's something, I'm not sure if I use the proper words, but something what they call somehow like innate treatment plan of the organism, that it is something what is inner ability to heal itself. And we could also call it homeostasis in a way, but this is like the higher understanding that actually our connection to the creative force, and the creative force being inside us, working with all our systems, is the best healer. This is the best healing principle and way. And those amazing cranio people are able to hold space for this to happen. So that is something what I've learned from them, and it's in my opinion, that's something where we have to start our journey, to go in the state of no mind, in the state of pure being, in our body, in our heart. It's meditative state where you just are, we just are. And in this state, there is nothing missing. There is only the being. We only are. And when the mind doesn't produce any content, then there is nothing what really can damage this state, because this state is here always. It just depends if we are able to silence our mind, to be still long enough to get into this state. But as I said, this state is here. And this is the state of health, state of wholeness, state of holiness, state of our inner power, our inner divinity, our inner freedom, and it's just our nature. It's the spirit in us who is forever free and blessed and in bliss. And if we learn to go into this state, and if we learn to make it expand even into our daily life, then we are going to heal ourselves. This is the entry point to the healing of our 5 bodies. It's the highest body of all. It's the bliss body, as they call it, or they also call it causal body. You can call it spirit, anything. It's just the oneness, the non-duality of our being. And from this state, we can approach the other bodies, the other levels of our being. But I think this is the primary state which we should maintain, the silence and stillness and pure being is something where the real healing starts. my wife is able to tell you more and definitely better about the neutral state as the cranio biodynamic practitioner understands it. But that is something what is, I think it's different name for the same state. But it's amazing that there is a method which use this deep wisdom. This biodynamic approach is something what describes my feelings about how it should be. It's something what connects us to the quantum field of infinite possibilities of our health and wholeness. And I'm really grateful that I've been able to learn that from my wife and other cranio teachers I've met. I've not learned that in the way they use it. I'm not that sensitive to be able to touch the person the way they do and to feel all those movements and rhythms and energies inside the body. I don't have this ability so far, but I admire them that they are really able to do this. And in my opinion, this approach, what they use, that they prefer the inner, the creative force, the self-healing mechanisms, and they don't interfere with their own intentions. That is something that's amazing. I really love it, and that's something what just explains a lot to me. So I am really grateful I got in touch with that, and this part of the biodynamic cranio teachings is something what I introduced in my concept. It's only the tiny part of their school, but it's very important approach in my opinion, and it's something what makes possible to contact actually our causal, the bliss body, and also the wisdom body. I think this approach, this humble attitude, this surrender to the higher power, that's something what fits perfectly in my concept, and it is something what is probably the most important part of it, because that is what makes the whole difference. If we approach our health from the side of wholeness, from the side of oneness, non-duality, God, whatever you call it, or if we approach our health from the side of the problem. This is the whole difference. This is the whole paradigm shift. This just explains it to me. So this is the first step, the first part, the contact of our first or furthest body. I don't know where it sits, but to contact the spirit, to connect, to reconnect, to realize the ever present connection and oneness with the spirit, with the great creator, with the great creation, with life. This is the crucial point, and it's the step number 1 in our healing journey. So let's talk about the other layers, other approaches, our bodies next time, but this one is, in my concept, the primal one, and we start with it always. It's something what changes the paradigm. I think when we realize our divine nature as a primal, as the original state of our being, if we understand that this is what we actually are and what we think we are, all the troubles, problems, illnesses, sufferings, there is something what is only stick to our true nature. But our true nature is never changed by it. The problems, the good and bad, it comes and goes, but our true being is the same always. And that is something what makes possible to connect with the higher power in us, and what makes possible to understand that the right to be healthy is ours. It's our right to be healthy. It had always been our right, and we have the power to go back to it, to realize it inside. That is step number 1. We see other steps in next videos. See you.